JT Shaver here with New Layer, and with as many light reviews as I do, I feel like I need to do more videos showing you how to actually use them. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Moody moonlit scene using the Nanlite Forza 200, the Forza 60 and 60B, and the new Nanlite LitoLite 5C. To be honest, I tried a bunch of different lighting setups for this that I hated before I got to this one. I just wanted to mention that up front because it's easy to watch lighting tutorials like this and assume that it took 30 minutes and one try to get everything right. In reality, sometimes it can take an entire day to set up the lighting for a single scene or a single shot. So if you're just getting into lighting, don't get discouraged if you're not getting the look that you want right away. Let's take a look at how I set up all these lights and, more importantly, the reasoning behind where I put each light. At first I tried to work with the natural lighting coming through the windows, but it was constantly changing, so I decided to just wait until it was dark outside. That way I had full control over all of the lighting. Since I'm lighting someone playing piano at night, Moonlight Sonata came to mind, so I decided to run with that idea. I set up the lighting to simulate a moonlight look coming through the window and then contrast that with a tungsten looking light from inside the house. I set up my Nanlite Forza 200 outside on the front porch and shot that in through the window, and I used the stock reflector at just about 7% because this light is extremely bright. The light is hitting the wall behind the subject on the background, so I wanted to add a little bit of texture. To do that, I closed the blinds a little bit just to cast some shadows on the wall and make it look more interesting. If you don't have an actual window to shoot through, you can buy or make something called a cookie. A cookie is just a board of some kind with holes or shapes cut in it. That way you can shoot the light through it and create different kinds of shadows. So if you wanted the look of shooting through a window, you could take something like a foam core board and cut a lot of long, skinny slats in it and angle that differently until you get the shadows that you want. The Forza 200 has a color temperature of 5600 Kelvin, so in order to make it look more blue, I set my camera white balance to 3000 Kelvin. Any light with a color temperature over what your camera is set to is going to look more blue, and any light with a color temperature under what your camera is set to is going to look more orange. I wanted the subject to be separated from the background a little bit more, so I set up a Nanlite Forza 60 behind the subject, pointing at the back of her head. I set it to 10% and right in front of the window, that way the rim or hair light looks motivated by the light coming in through the window. I'm also using the stock reflector to keep it from spilling all over the place, and now we have a pretty realistic moonlight look. To add some color contrast to the scene, I'm using the Nanlite Forza 60B as the key light, which is the bicolor version of the Forza 60. I set the color temperature of that light to its minimum at 2700 Kelvin. Again, because my camera's set to 3000 Kelvin, that light's gonna look more orange and give you that nice inviting tungsten look. I used a 48-inch softbox on the Nanlite Bowens mount adapter, and I normally wouldn't recommend that because it's a really huge modifier for such a small light. With the piano lid up, it was really hard to get the angle that I wanted with external diffusion, so I just made it work with what I had. I added a grid to keep the warm light from spilling on the wall. That way I got maximum color contrast between the subject and the background. Ideally, I could have taken the grid off and flagged the light from hitting the wall a different way. With the height of the ceiling, the size of the piano, and the proximity to the wall, I kinda had to work with what I had. And if I was able to take the grid off, it just would have helped me get slightly softer light on the subject. Next, I wanted to fill in some of the shadows on the camera side of the face. I brought in a V-flat from V-Flat World, which I just got a couple weeks ago and I've been dying to use on a project. You can use these to flag light from hitting places you don't want, as a bounce card like I did, or use the black side as a negative fill. They also work really well as a quick pop-up background or as giant reflectors for something like a book light or cove light. Lastly, since the piano lid is blocking most of the key light from hitting the inside of the piano, I wanted to add a subtle fill light there. I used the Nanlite LitoLite 5C with the silicone diffuser that it comes with, and its small size made it perfect for this use case. I set the color to 2700 Kelvin and the brightness to just 2 or 3% and set it on the plate inside the piano facing the subject. The very last thing that I did for this scene is to put on a quarter strength Tiffen Black Pro Mist filter. This just helps to soften the skin a little bit and bloom out some of the highlights on the face. It's another really subtle change, especially in a scene like this where there's no bright lights in frame. It does change the look to be more cinematic or film-like in an almost subconscious way. Now let's look at each light by itself to see what each one adds to the scene. Here's the Forza 200 coming in through the window as simulated moonlight. Here's the Forza 60 as a rim light that's motivated by that window light. Here's the Forza 60B in a 48-inch softbox as the key light. And finally, the LitoLite 5C as a really subtle fill. Now let's look at the complete scene one more time, adding each light onto the previous one. Again, first is the Forza 200 through the window. Next, I added the Forza 60, which together with the Forza 200 simply looks like one light coming in through the window. Next, I added the soft key light, and lastly, the subtle fill light. Here's also what the final setup looks like in S-Log 3 versus the final grade. The shadows on the back wall ended up kind of matching the eye line of the subject looking at the piano book, which I thought was pretty cool. Sometimes unintentional things like this will happen, but with more practice, you'll start to visualize stuff like that before you ever set up your first light. This is just one setup out of the infinite possibilities you can do with a scene like this. Something else you could try is having a smaller and dimmer key light, maybe even using the LitoLite 5C in the candle or fire mode to create kind of a candlelit look. There's really no one best way to light any scene, so I hope this video was helpful to give you some inspiration for your next project. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a comment and let me know what scenarios you want to see most. I do light reviews, lighting setups, and other videos every week, so make sure you hit subscribe and follow me on social media because I post a lot of stuff there that doesn't quite make it to YouTube. I'll also have links in the description to all the lights and gear that I use for this setup, and they are affiliate links, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really helps me create more videos like this. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.